All right, let's look at that answer in a second. We're going to look at in this course. I'm just pulling up a kind of a middle of the class one to help you out here to see. Everybody always asks, what am I looking for? What are you looking for, Davis? Well, one of the things I'm looking for is a clear claim. So sometimes I'll just prompt you to write in the claim. All you need is a word for these if you do this. And so by way of talking about integrated evidence, I'm going to just pull up probably an easier one to go over. So you could write whatever you wanted to. You know, Beowulf was an arrogant man. Beowulf was a strong man. Beowulf was a heroic man. It's a little bit more complicated and so on. And then after that, if that's the claim, remember, then this would be your topic idea once you fill that in. And then you want discussion, and evidence should just match what you underline here. So nothing else. You don't need any kind of background information or anything like that, or just anything that doesn't follow from the claim. It's okay to leave off material, right? If it's not part of your claim. So I'm going to show you how one student did this. And this is fairly typical of the kind of answers students will submit. As I finished reading the story, Beowulf was an insanely brave. Okay, so that's the actual claim. So I could, this student could have just did that here. I'm just going to go ahead and delete this just to make it a little bit more precise, but you wouldn't necessarily have to. Beowulf was an insanely brave man. I mean, it blatantly shows in the multiple actions and adventures he had previously been on, his bravery. For example, okay, so this is what we're looking for here. This is a transition. For example, according to our chapter. For example, in the screencast, it mentions when I see something like this is what you want to pay attention here, because this is going to signal to your reader that this coming up actually applies to whatever you said in the previous sentence here. Okay, so now both of these sentences go together. This is important because what students will want to do, I'm going to fix that in a minute. What students will want to do is just kind of airdrop quotes, as we call it, or just put quotes in the answer that don't really do anything and that are sentences by themselves. You don't want quotes as sentences by themselves, because what will happen, even if this did follow, so say for example, previously been on, and then it was just opened with a quote, and it did not have this stuff, swam against well-like currents. A lot of students will do that. You don't want to do that because you have to signal to your reader that all of this needs to function together. Does that seem odd to you? Probably. A lot of this stuff in academics is a little odd, but that's okay. This will help you keep you using quoted evidence to support something that you said, right? Not something that the textbook said. And it's for this reason that this is why we are using exact quoted evidence in this course. So I went a few years ago. I was guiding students through paraphrases, but we seem to have a little bit tough time doing that, because what students would like to do is just paraphrase the whole text and just sort of throw in some marks at the end. So we're not, as a rule, generally not paraphrasing in this course. We're using direct quotes. So the student got the citation a little bit incorrect here. This, remember, just means and all the others. So there are other editors besides Cunningham, is all that's saying. And it looks weird because you have a period here and then a period here, but that's the way MLA likes it. And so not like no period there. That's wrong. So I'm going to delete that. The only time you would keep punctuation here inside MLA is if there was something significant. So you wanted to show that to your reader. But otherwise, if it's not significant, if it's just a period, MLA will suspend it all the way to here. So now let's Beowulf was a brave man. I mean, it blatantly shows, so a little bit colloquial, a little casual, but that's okay. Someone has to be rationally brave to do anything. Okay, so explaining now the evidence. That's fine. Personally, okay, there's a run-on sentence here, but let's don't worry about that right now. Personally, one of my biggest fears is being stuck in the ocean. And okay, so evidence, personal evidence to kind of support. You don't necessarily need personal evidence, but that's okay. Bravery is also an absolute must to even attempt on killing someone as dangerous as Grendel was. Okay, so different monster. So now we're going to a different example. I mean, even in the chapter, it talks about how Hrothgar's should be possessive soldiers are being mercilessly slaughtered by the man monster. Okay, so that's again. Okay, so it's going back to talk about the previous idea. So that's okay. Okay, so it's just enough for me to stay. Oh yeah, and if I think I'm going to post this before we actually get to your chapter 9 reading questions, but you can see the idea here. So all of this should go back to Brave. Does this go back to Brave? Yeah, because you got to show how bad that Grendel was that Beowulf had taken him on. Notice there's a lot of things this student could have used that the student didn't use. Number of examples, or when you read the text especially, that the student did not include. That's okay, right? There's actually better evidence that the student could have used. Sometimes I'll write things like that in the comments. But for now, this is what we want to get. This idea of just, if you don't know, if your quote follows, include for example, according to our chapter, right? And then the quote you're going to use. If all of this makes sense together, then that's okay. But if it doesn't, then the quotes, in this case, the editors from the book, or maybe me in the screencast or one of the videos you're watching, someone else other than you starts taking over the discussion and conveying information and so on. You don't want that. You want to run the show here, as it were. Okay.